Hello, everyone, and welcome to Disruptive Conversations. I'm so happy to have you here today and to spend time and to share her information of Melissa Andrieux, attorney and head of diversity, equity, inclusion, and very importantly, is belonging. So I think Melissa's coming on already. Let's see how this works. Uh, and hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. And here we are with tremendous success for her first Instagram Live is Melissa. And Melissa, I'm so happy to see you on the screen. And oh, hello from Italy. We have people, someone who's joined from Italy. Hello, everyone. Welcome. And welcome if this is your first time or if you're a returning a friend coming in and listening to the show today. Welcome to Disruptive Conversations with entrepreneurs, thought leaders, influencers, educators, authors, attorneys, in which we deep dive into the experiences these women have needed to navigate and conquer in order to have achieved the personal and professional success they have at this moment in time. And we know that there will be more to come. And I'm Dr. Risa Reiger. I'm clinical psychologist, and I'm an expert in change. I help people, companies, teams, law firms make positive change. The good news is that positive change can happen at any point. You are never too late. You have never missed it. However, in order to have positive change, we need to have disruption. You need to disrupt a thought, a feeling, a belief, a habit, a behavior in order to create your 10.0 life. And that's what all of these conversations about. And this is what Melissa is going to help us with today. So let me introduce her to you. Obviously, I must read from the bio because she has so many accomplishments. Can't possibly remember it all, and I don't even try. So there we have it. So Melissa, and I get to practice my French a little bit. Melissa Andrieux is the Chief Diversity Officer and Chief Client Relations Officer at Dorf, Nelson and Zauderer. And she is really in charge of also diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging initiatives as the Chief Diversity Officer. And Melissa is responsible for developing and executing the firm's strategies to attract, recruit, retain. I love that. Attract, recruit, retain, and promote diverse talent and to foster a firm-wide culture of equity, inclusion, and belonging. We are certainly going to be hopping into that as well. She consults and assists firms, clients, and other businesses with the development of their own diversity and inclusion programming and related initiatives. She serves as the Chief Client Relations Officer, as she has extensive experience in marketing, business development, and recruitment. She serves as an ambassador to the Business Council of Westchester. I'm going to need to find my way to that organization as a board member of the Women's Bar Association and co-chair of WWBA's DEI committee. She received her BS from St. John's University and her JD from New York Law. And without further information, I think we have enough to get started. Here's Melissa. Melissa, you're just a little bit fuzzy. I'm not quite sure why.
I am. Oh,
okay.
maybe
That's better. Yeah, that's a little better.
better.
Okay. Yeah. Here we go.
I moved up a little bit.
Okay. I know it's when we get on, it just is a little bit different than what we think. And this this is going to be part of your journey now as you're having your first Instagram Live. And I'm so thrilled that we're here together to have that happen. So, Melissa, is there something before we go deeper into your background, is there something on your bio that you would like to let us know, something that I may not have covered?
No, you've basically covered everything. Although, I don't know if you said this, but I was recently awarded the 2023 Ambassador of the Year Award from BCW, Business Council of Westchester. So I'm really proud of that recognition, and I thank everyone at the organization for that.
And so proud of what that means, of the commitment and value and information and experience and commitment that needs to happen in order to get a reward. So we're triply happy that you're here today sharing this with us. So Melissa, first question is, what did you need to disrupt inside yourself in order to have achieved the achievement, the success, both professionally and personally, that you have at this point in time?
So thank you for having me on your show. Hi, everyone who joined. Thank you for listening to me babble on and on. But so I started my career as a prosecutor and litigating. I always wanted to be a litigator in the courtroom fighting for justice until I didn't. And then I went into civil practice, and I did that for a very long time. So I did civil litigation. But like many women and some men, as we go through our careers and what goes on in our lives, we kind of, want something different. And I grew really unhappy with what I was doing. I didn't really like the litigation aspect of my career anymore. But I was like, I went to law school. I have to be a lawyer. I have to practice. And I stayed doing it for a very long time until I was given the opportunity by one of my mentors. Mentorship is very important. And he actually is one of the partners at Dorff, Nelson and Sauter. His name is Jonathan Nelson. And we were talking about career trajectory. And I said, I would like to do something else at the firm. I just don't know what. I really do not want to practice anymore. And he said, there's an opening in the marketing department. And I said, well, I'm not a marketer. I'm a lawyer. And, we talked about it on and off. And then I was finally ready to make the jump, make the change in my mind, in my heart. And I said, you know what, Melissa, you don't like what you're doing. You're kind of miserable. So take a chance. You never know what would happen. And Mr. Nelson said, I always had security here. If I flopped doing the marketing, I could always do something else. So I embraced that, and I learned how to do marketing, and that transitioned into business development, which is where the BCW comes in. And then through my networking, I learned about the DEIB, challenges going on in Westchester. And tell me when you want me to stop, because I can just babble on and on. And that got me intrigued in how I can help in that respect. And so I networked with folks in the DEIB space. I looked at what was going on at the firm. I changed some things with the help of leadership, obviously, which DEIB cannot work without leadership. And I started being asked to do panels and consult, and that is where we are today.
So go ahead, please.
No, but it really took a long time for me to make the leap, leaving the career that I was very comfortable in. I was really good at it, according to most people. And I had a lot of naysayers say, why are you leaving? You're so good at being a lawyer. You're not going to make it doing something else. And I had that in the back of my mind, which kept me, rooted into practicing law. And then until I was ready to make the change, and I had mentors lifting me up and pushing me, I made my career pivot several years ago.
So the first thing I want to comment on, and I'm going to take this to the community, our communities who are listening, is that you said to yourself, Melissa, right? And that actually, when we talk to ourselves, either in our heads or out loud, uh, and we use our own names, that has a powerful effect on our neurobiology. And that piece is really important. So it helps us to really make changes internally. So that's one, you didn't know it at the time,
Right.
uh, but that's something important that was happening. We're getting a little bit of feedback. I don't know if you're hearing that. Okay, we continue. So,
As long as I'm coming in clearly.
yeah, okay. So that piece is very important, and that you allowed yourself. What is it that you think allowed you to listen to yourself and to listen to not just get in, kind of we can get into a rut, in a groove. It doesn't have to be a bad thing, to get into a groove. We can be in a groove, but there's something that you listen to in yourself. And what is it that you think helped you to hear what you were saying to yourself and then to listen to it?
That's a very interesting question. I was complacent. I was in a rut and I didn't know how to, I was on the mouse wheel or the hamster wheel. And I literally said to myself, I don't want to die doing something that I do not enjoy, because it was affecting my mental well-being. It was physically, I was impacted too. I wasn't sleeping. I was dreading, the workday. And we spend so much time working that it was really impacting me. And I literally said to myself, I don't want to die not having found out what else can be out there for me. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
little, deep to think that way, but that was what propelled me to actually make the change, because I probably would not have done it if I didn't have that deep thought in my mind. I would have probably kept on doing the same old thing, gone through the motions, and just been unhappy with my life.
got it. Got it. And so that was one piece of it. And so how did you develop this mentorship?
Yes.
Because mentors, sponsors, uplifters, people who come in to be of help and support. Uh, how did that happen for you? And what did
Well,
you do to help make that happen?
so I've been lucky in my life where I've had mentors who I didn't know were mentoring me. They just took an interest in me, and by the way, they were all white men. So they took an interest in me, in my career, and I guess they saw something in me that they wanted to help and support. And so I I just embraced it, and I listened, because they are much smarter than I am, and they would never let me fail. And so I said, you know what? These people are trying to help you. Listen to them, and you're a smart girl. You're not going to let yourself fail. And so that made me take the leap and make the career change.
Well, one of the things that we know in the space of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I love the B or belonging, is that these are not necessarily comfortable conversations to have. And a lot of people don't know how to have a conversation, how to have a conversation in a way that is um, respectful, that you're not communicating in ways that may not be a necessarily. I mean, as I'm talking about this, how is it that you figured out a way to talk about this and to broach a topic, a huge topic. It's not a topic, but it touches on so much. Because I know when I talk about unconscious bias,
Yes.
it's huge. It's huge. And so how did you start to come to this both in yourself and figure it and be able to start conversations that are really hard, difficult conversations to start? Not necessarily that people don't want to have a, but just could you enlighten us?
Yeah, so let me say this. Before I did my career pivot, this was never a conversation that I had. Um, I mean, obviously, I'm a woman of color. I'm an attorney, and the legal profession is not as diverse as it could be. I mean, we're working on it slowly but surely. But I never had these conversations coming up in the legal field. But I felt microaggressions. I felt disrespected, and I always kept my mouth shut because why? I didn't want to offend anyone. I didn't want to be a poor reflection on the firm. But then as I shifted more to the business side, and speaking with people in the business community, I felt more comfortable voicing my opinion and how I felt coming up in the world as a young Black attorney. And, you know, I'll give it to the partners here. The firm, it's DEI is in the firm's DNA. It wasn't as if I was
Mhm.
starting from scratch. I mean, John Dorff and John Nelson, they're very progressive. And it wasn't something that I felt uncomfortable bringing to them when I said, hey, let's start a D&I council. And they said, sure. Why? And I told them, they were like, sure, run with it. So for me, it was not a difficult conversation with the
Right,
bosses. Where I
right.
felt having difficult conversations was when I went out into the world
Mhm.
and people were questioning why the firm needs a DEI officer. Why is this important? And I had to explain to them why DEI is important. I wish we didn't have to explain it, that initiatives were not necessary, but unfortunately they are. And so that was the difficulty I encountered. But slowly but surely, as people came to accept me in the community, in the business community, and on the internet, they saw that I wasn't, you know, pushing any ideas on them. I was educating them, and I'm all about educating because
Mhm.
that's how we learn. Everybody makes mistakes. I still make mistakes, and it's incumbent upon us to learn from those mistakes and not repeat them. So I think that as I progressed in this second chapter of my life, I became more comfortable with who I am and what was important to me. And DEIB, can't forget accessibility, became something that I really developed a passion for. And I could talk about it all day, which is why I started my consulting business out of the firm with the blessing of the leadership here, might I add.
Um, Well, there's been a lot of support and appreciation, it sounds like, and respect for what you bring, what you do, and what you want to bring to others as well.
I think so. I think people initially they were a little bit skeptical about this. What is this DEI, DEIB, DEIA? But I think as I came to educate them and they got to know me on kind of a personal level, I shared my stories with them. I think they started to understand why DEI is important and why I have this role and I guess kind of a destiny to fulfill, um, carrying on this work.
So, a few things. One is that you're not necessarily completely ready to start something when you start. And this isn't specific to you, but a lot of people, and I think oftentimes more women than men, will hold back and and with this idea that I have to be 100%, I have to know everything
Yeah.
before they start. And so what is it? I know that you had your report also, which is very, very crucial, but you also had the support in yourself. So what is it that
Mhm.
helped you internally to be able to start before, you have every T crossed and every I dotted? Because that can't happen before you do something.
Well, I was that person that would not do something until I had every I dotted and every T crossed. So I progressed in my journey quite organically. I let it go. I went with the flow. I tackled one aspect of, DEI. And well, first I tackled marketing, then business development, and then DEI, which wove into the marketing and the business development because I was out there talking about what we're doing at the firm and, that developed some business for the firm. But I had to really let it develop organically because I do not like change. I had to take it one step at a time. And sometimes I was hesitant to move to the next step, but the little voice in my head said, you have to do it. You took the leap several years ago and you completely stopped practicing law. Just keep going, trust your instincts. And that's what I've been doing. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, I mean, it really it does answer the question. And also when you also answered, and maybe you want to fill this in a little bit more, because we do hit spots where we're just like, you know, and we all do. And in terms of making mistakes, if you're growing and you're trying something and you're learning and you're not just staying in a hermetically sealed bubble
Hmm.
environment, you're gonna make mistakes. I
Yes,
mean, it happens, and we need to learn to tolerate this. But when you got to your points of those moments of stretch, what is it that you said to yourself to help you keep going? And you said, Melissa, keep
I
going.
said keep
And did
going.
is there anything else you could add to that? Because I think that this is just so important. And that you also say that you did get to those spots.
I did. Honestly, it had a lot to do with the mentors that I had in my life because I was always scared to make the next leap, right? Because I didn't want to fail. Failure is something that I really do not enjoy. I'm sure a lot of people feel like that. So I always talked out my next ideas with my mentors, and they always let me make my own decision, but they listened and they guided me to it. And with that guidance and support, I felt that I was able to take the next step in the trajectory of this career, this second career.
So one of your strategies, if we pull out the strategies, that you said that to yourself, you understood who you are, and sometimes were as you go through your own growth, about I don't like to fail, I don't like change, that is such a great statement to make, because as soon as you make the statement and you put it out there, and you have awareness of it, then it becomes addressable.
Yes,
So that, and knowing who you are and were, that what was important for you and what was an important strategy was going and saying, I have this idea. Can I tell you about this? And really getting airing it
yes,
in a space that felt safer for you, more secure for you, and a trusted space.
yes, yes. I believe wholeheartedly that if we don't have that person, that go-to person, to help us out, um, we're not on an island, right? We need a support system. We need encouragement. We like to be told that we're doing good, well in life. So all of that helped me to take the next steps. I I never felt that I was on the wrong track because I always spoke with a mentor or somebody about my ideas because I didn't want to fail. So let me make sure, that I'm thinking in the right way.
So there isn't one way of doing it. And this is so important that we all have different styles. We're different people. We have different comfort levels.
Yeah.
We get comfort in different kinds of ways. We want to check out. There are people who just go, go with it, and that's one style, but that's not the only way. And it's so important. And you were just articulating this perfectly, of how important it is to know who you are, to know
Yeah.
what works for you, or to keep trying to figure out what works for you. And then when you need it, go for that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, I just did this on my own. I just, I had this idea and I just went out. That's not the only way to do things. And
Right.
so, knowing who you are, that this soundboarding and can I run this by you, that was and still may be part of what helps you to move forward and honoring that strategy for yourself, because it works.
It works. It works for me. It's not a one size fits all. This is how I was able to, make my shift. But also talking things out and having the encouragement from others has helped me to make decisions without speaking with people. So, you grow when you speak to people and get other opinions. And then you realize slowly but surely, I'm on the right track and I can do this on my own.
Yeah.
So I'm at that point right now.
Yes. And so for everyone listening, just put this in your pocket, that where you start isn't where you finish. And that there's going to be steps in between, and
So
and
true.
you've lived that and you talk about it, which is amazing. I want to talk to you also because a lot of people here, what we hear oftentimes is DEI, and I know you have the A, but I would like to focus for a moment on the B.
Okay.
And that belonging is so crucial. As human beings, we are not isolated entities, and as a matter of fact, we know that we know the impact of not belonging, not being in connection, the impact that that has on our health and wellness. And so, could you talk a little bit more about belonging?
So I think everybody has their own definition of belonging. I mean, DEIB means something different to everyone. For
Mm-hmm.
me, belonging means that me as an individual, feel connected, feel seen, feel that I belong to a community or that I'm part of a team. It's an individual feeling, I guess kind of subjective, right? Because if I don't feel that I belong somewhere in my head, it's going to impact me internally, probably physically, mentally, and in all the negative ways. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I view belonging. And it's something that a lot of people have not heard of, surprisingly. They've never heard belonging as part of DEI, but it is so important. It goes hand in hand with the inclusion aspect, right? Belonging flows from inclusion.
Yeah. And diversity, as I hear it, means that we are not all the same. And that's not what the requirement is. The requirement is that we come in and we do have our differences and
Mm-hmm.
we do have our individuality, and that gets respected. And when we can honor that, validate that, acknowledge it, and then we take that diversity, we take those differences in ways we look at things and think about things, and we
Exactly.
come
Yeah.
together. What we come up with is can be pretty remarkable.
Right. I mean, imagine a world where everybody had the same thought, you know? That would be a little boring. So, diversity of thought, diversity of perspective, diversity of opinion, that's what makes us a great country. And, you want to be with people who are different from you so you can learn and educate yourself and grow.
Yes, that's so fantastic. So you know, as I told you, first of all, we want to applaud Melissa. This is her first Instagram Live, and thank you so much for entrusting me and with having you come on. So last question before we take our photo for our cover shot,
Okay.
which is Melissa, what is your next disruption?
Well, it's in the work right now, but entrepreneurship. So I my DEIB consulting group that I started within the firm, that's my foray into entrepreneurship. Even though it's part of the firm, it's something that I'm spearheading it, and I'm controlling it. So that is something that I would have never done, never thought was in the possibility of me starting a business. So that is my next disruption. And I'm slowly learning, but that's where we are right now.
So thank you so very much for sharing what you have disrupted and what you're in the process of disrupting and where you're going to go with disruption and the growth that this has not only afforded you, but afforded all the recipients, all the people that you have touched and have been in contact with to help them in that same in that same energy and growth. And so thank you so very much for coming on and sharing with us. So let's take our cover shot. If you want to do a little a hair moment, you know, we can do
Okay.
that. Okay, ready?
Okay.
And one more. Melissa, thanks
Yes.
again, and can't wait to keep up with you and hear about what's
Thank you
next.
so much for having me, Dr. Risa.
Oh, my pleasure. And for everyone here, remember, positive change can happen at any point. I'll be back again next week. Please come and join me. I've saved a seat for you.